Okay, damage rant, damage rant, damage rant coming up. So I'm going to start with this. Yep, the Borsig will do that for you. 1,380 in one shot. But the world isn't all about playing the Borsig. Now, right enough, if you want to get your damage, look at my damage stats, sky high, play a Borsig. Play it a lot. Play a T34. Play it a lot. You will have very high average damage. People who want to abuse me in game basically look at my average damage of 950 and give me abuse, because they can't abuse me for my win rate. So it's like, okay, yeah, fine. I had some kid do it the other day and it gets really, really boring. And because of that, I started to think about it, and I wanted to go on record and talk about damage. I don't just want to talk about damage, I want to talk about effective damage in a tank. So to illustrate the point, I'm going to show two very, very different games. The first game is in the Matilda Black Prince. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. The second game will be in the T34, which is a totally different tank, I grant you. But listen to the points I'm going to make to you about damage and what I think it is and how I think it should be measured. Now, it should be measured per tier and it should be measured per tank. But if you go beyond that, actually what you want to measure is your hit pool. So overall, if you're driving a Matilda Black Prince, your hit pool is 780, right? So your objective if you're driving this tank is to do at least 780 damage in the game, right? And that's very hard to do in Matilda Black Prince. And the reason for that is the Matilda Black Prince hits for about 81, 90, that sort of number. That means that in this tank, in order to do your hit pool 780, to break even in other words, you've got to be landing between 10 and 11 shells, and that time on target is a lot. You've got to poke and make a lot of shots in order to make your hit pool. So to be effective in this tank, you're going to have to make 10 to 11 shots in a game to make your hit pool back. Now, why is the realisation of your hit pool important? And the reason for that is, if everyone on your team in any one given game does at least their hit pool, I mean at least their hit pool, ideally a little bit more, not much, if everyone did their hit pool in a game, played to that level, you would win nearly 100% of your games. So rather than relying on some sort of unicom to pull out their hit pool +1 +2, so 1400 damage or something in a Matilda Black Prince to win, if everyone just did 780, if that was their hit pool, we would win the game easily. And if you're looking at this game, I have just broken even. And now it's all gravy, don't get me wrong, I've shot more than my hit pool, I'm more than even. You know, I'm on 1067, my hit pool's 786. So if I died right now, like perverse point, if I die right now, someone ammo racks me, if we lose this game, it's not on me. It's literally as simple as that. It's not on me. I've done my level flaming best to win it. But look how hard, I mean, yes, people are driven in front of me, but look how hard I've had to work to realise 1,300 damage. Now, that clip of the Borsig at the beginning, which I showed you, that was 1,300 in one shot from a tier 8 tank destroyer. That is what it will do if it ammo racks something. I've only just, having killed 4 tanks and nearly got to the end of this game, it exceeded that total in the Matilda Black Prince. Yet this has been an effective game. Well, why has it been effective? Well, A, I've carried the game, but B, I've done over double my hit pool. And any day of the week, that is, in all likelihood, going to be a win. If you then look at the team at the end, I would think pretty much everyone on that list, maybe excluding the Nightmare, I'd have to check, has not done their hit pool. Ergo, if I haven't done double mine, that's a loss. And that has nothing to do with my average damage whatsoever. That has to do with that game and that tank and its DPM and what it can put out and the hit pool of the tank and all the other variables. So if we're talking pure damage, that's an effective game. Yet if you look at my average damage overall, it's 950 because I've played everything from tier 1 to tier 10 and never really cared about average damage at all for 2 seconds. If you look at something like a T34, which I'm going to be playing in Platoon in this game, it's actually much easier to make your damage in it, because frankly you've got to land, you've got 1,700 in your hit pool, so to break even in this tank, to be honest, it's about 5 full rolls, maybe 4.5, let's exclude Amarax, this, that and the other. So you can knock out 1,700 odd damage in this tank in about 5 shots, assuming that you can aim. So if I play the T34 a lot and I'm making 3, 4, 5 shots in it, my average damage overall is going to go up, isn't it? It stands to reason. If I played the Borsig a lot, I'm making 3, 4, 5 shots. Regardless of how well I've played, my average damage is going to go up. My point is, that's kind of irrelevant, is it not? It's only relevant insofar as if me and the funeral director down there want to win this game with the teams that we generally get, me and him need to do at least the hit pool of our 2 T34s in order to win. And if we do that, more than likely 8 out of 10 times, unless the rest of the team do absolutely flat zero, which by the way I played a game the other day with 4 potatoes, you're going to win. So I think overall that's my whole thing with damage. I'm not really impressed by people who want to go on about looking at their damage. I would be impressed if I looked at their damage in one game in which they were playing and they played well and they did at least their hit pool and helped us win. But overall, people who sit there in the garage and go, "Oh, you flaming noob, you got 950 overall damage, you don't know how to play or support teams," well, they're just wrong, and it's as simple as that. So overall, folks, if you can do this, if as a minimum you can just stay in the game long enough to knock out your hit pool, plus some if you can, you're going to start winning a lot more games than you lose, and that's basically the truth of it. So there you go, there's a T34, 2,814 damage, my hit pool is 1,700. So that's basically what I needed to do. And if you look at the table at the end of this game, look, the funeral director, he's done his damage, he's literally done his hit pool in damage and we've won. If you look at that 487 and 229 down there, if the team's full of them, it's a loss. Anyway, I hope that's food for thought. See ya. Bye.